Get to some developing news this afternoon. A magnitude 7.0 earthquake struck off the west coast this afternoon. A tsunami warning that stretched across both California and Oregon was issued, but that expired about 45 minutes ago. The quake was felt as far south as San Francisco, where residents reported feeling a rolling motion. A new video shows the impact to a pool in the Eureka area. Officials estimate more than 1 million people live close enough to the epicenter to have felt the shaking, and several aftershocks have also been reported. More than 5 million people in California were put under a tsunami warning shortly after the earthquake struck, but again, that expired within the last hour. Let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Andrew Brightman. And Andrew, a very scary time for those millions of people that were wondering if there would be a tsunami on the coast.
Yeah, that's obviously the concern here when we see one of these stronger, more intense earthquakes like the 7.0 magnitude earthquake that occurred at 1:44 this afternoon. Northern part of California, a decent amount of active seismic activity. This is part of what we call the Cascadia subduction zone, as the Pacific plate and the North American plate kind of butt up against each other, and usually one slides under the other. And we talk about some of these different types of faults that we see. A normal fault, you see kind of one slipping upward, reverse fault, one kind of slips down. What we saw here was more of a kind of a slip fault as they kind of grind past each other. And one of the reasons they were able to cancel that tsunami warning was the fact there wasn't a lot of upward thrust with this earthquake that potentially could generate a tsunami. You can see sort of that sliding motion, the two blocks sliding past each other. So how do tsunamis form when you have these earthquakes? As it occurs, that energy travels upward and expands in all directions. That's why that upward thrust is very important and something we're always very concerned about when we see these underwater earthquakes. And from there, that energy is just waves propagating or moving towards land. As it gets closer to land, that drawback pulls the water out, and as that energy heads into shallower water, those waves get larger and larger as it gets closer to the coastline. So a shallow seafloor means a larger wave, and then they can move inland. Sometimes they can spread well inland, miles inland, depending on the intensity of the earthquake. And I just want to talk briefly here about some of the distance they can travel. They can travel over 500 miles an hour, as fast as basically an airliner. Some of the more notable tsunamis that we have seen, the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, that's probably going to be the deadliest natural disaster of the 21st century. A 9.2 magnitude earthquake. Keep this in mind. It's a log scale, so 9.2 magnitude earthquake, about 2,000 to 3,000 times more energy than what was released with this past earthquake. The Lituya Bay tsunami, that was the tallest tsunami ever up near the, once we get up to Alaska, had over a 1,700-foot tsunami. And then the Valvita earthquake, 9.5 magnitude, again, about 5,000 times the amount of energy down near Chile. So thankful that we didn't have a situation like this, but obviously a very scary moment along the West Coast earlier today.
Yeah, it certainly was, Andrew, and very good information to provide everybody there on what happened today.